Hi everyone, my name is Rhiannon Cargo, and I'm back to introduce this next presentation that will discuss how an urban drainage project reduced flood risk while creating real value for the community. That being said, it's my pleasure to welcome Teresa Patterson and Jennifer Winters to the podium.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so grateful to be able to present this presentation with Jen Winters, and we're expanding on the Uvalde project that Laura mentioned earlier today, where one space provided many systems with lasting benefits. I forgot to see, they left me a clicker. It truly is a story about how 5 blocks of a neighborhood in northeastern Denver was converted from primarily a stormwater and car-centric concrete to a living system by designing for more than just conveyance. And before we go any farther, I want to acknowledge all of the wonderful people that helped make this vision come to life. Denver Department of Transportation and Infrastructure and the Mile High Flood District funded this project, and we hired Mueller, CEI, Livable Cities, and Western States to make this project come to life. Only with their dedication and their blood, sweat, and tears that this project could possibly come to life. So we're going to start with design. I don't know if you guys know, but Jen and I tag-teamed this project. I worked on the design, she worked on construction, just happened to be how our transition at the district happened, and that's how we're presenting it today. We spent 3 years in a phased design working on this project to bring a vision and a concept to life. The concrete channels in the Montbello neighborhood characterize this neighborhood by providing stormwater conveyance in the median of the roadway. Now, at the time this was built in the 1960s, this was an innovative practice because most of the streams were being piped underneath of roadways and underneath neighborhoods. And so they were great at their time, but we all know that they have a lifespan and that they serve one purpose and they're really costly to maintain and replace. So in 2018, the Mile High Flood District with the Denver DOTI and Aurora started a master plan to not only find the problems that were possible in the neighborhood, but also envision ways of replacing those concrete channels that was more sustainable. Consequently, the week that we were signing the vendor agreement with Michael Baker to start the study, the neighborhood was hit by a massive storm event. Nearly 2.3 inches of water fell in 1 hour, being very close to the 100-year event. The concrete channels were definitely full, and the street section took up the overflow. Now, can anybody tell me where the channel is in this picture? How about this one? It frightens me to be a driver in these streets under these conditions. Unfortunately, this car was not quite as lucky, but they were rescued without harm. This is a quote from a longtime resident of the Montbello neighborhood from the Denverite article from last year that said that they thought it was really funny when the waters would rise because they would go out and float down the street. But then as an adult, they realized that when the waters rise, it means flood damage, and that kind of sucks. Through the study, we discovered that many of the streets in the Montbello neighborhood were using the entire street section to convey water, and that water would then chase up the channels and cause flooding into private property as well. We also found out that there was a lot of water that was overtopping 56th Avenue at a depth that was unsafe for cars and for emergency managers to be able to come in and help them during these types of events. In 2021, Denver was designing the 56th Avenue travel and safety improvements between Pena and Peoria. And Denver DOTI thought this was a great opportunity to go in and put in some of the improvements that were identified from the master plan. And that's where the Uvalde project was born. Denver had already done a lot of the legwork in this neighborhood to try to figure out what their community needed. They had the far northeast area plan, the subsequent far northeast next steps study, the Montbello Safer Streets study, and then of course the study that we worked on to look at the stormwater. So a lot of the groundwork had already been done. So when Mueller and Livable Cities came to the table, we knew that we wanted more than just flood reduction. We wanted all of these other benefits that could possibly be integrated into this corridor. The big question was, we had 116 feet of right-of-way to work with. That was it. There was no more to take. And so how do you cram all of those things into that 116 feet of right-of-way? Well, you go through an incredibly extensive alternative analysis process. I don't know how many alternatives we looked at, but it was exhaustive. And you can always talk to Ryan Taylor, Athena, Meredith at Livable Cities, and they can probably give you those stats. This is an example of the existing cross-section. It's very driven by two things. It's car-centric, and it provides flood control. That's it. And we knew that we needed so much more out of that. We had 35 feet median, and if we just repurposed that entire corridor with all of that stuff, all that work that had been done before, we were able to expand the median to 63 feet. Within that median, we were not only able to provide flood control where all of the water is in the channel, not on the street, and provide water quality, but we were also able to provide a trail in that median, safer streets, bike lanes, wider sidewalks, the whole bit. Here's an example of a rendering that was done by Livable Cities that illustrates what it might feel like from a trail user's perspective along the channel. And these renderings, Livable Cities did a ton of these renderings, were very, very useful for us to have conversations with the neighbors, with the council members, getting their buy-in on this project before we ever broke ground. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jen to talk about construction.
All right, I polled the construction project team and asked them what they thought some of the challenges were and what some of the successes were for the project. And so this is what we came up with. The first one is this idea of the teamwork aspect of the project. We were really lucky because the entire construction team really felt like it was composed of project champions who wanted the project to be a success. I felt like the give a crap factor was super high in this project. But that's not to say that we didn't have our challenges and there weren't a big learning curve at the beginning, because there definitely was. And I think that's in large part due to the multiple entities that have ultimate responsibility over the corridor. So Denver Wastewater, Dottie Bridge, Denver Parks and Recs, Dottie Transportation, and the district, which led to some working through of who was responsible for inspection, for example, for different pieces, or if a problem came up, then who was going to make a decision about that piece. But once we got through that and settled into our clear roles and responsibilities, the project went pretty smoothly after that. The next thing is this idea of neighborhood first. Throughout the project, we tried to consider the impacts during construction to the neighborhood. Like Teresa said, this neighborhood had just been through the 56th Avenue Road project, and their street was closed for a long time, and then we piggybacked on top of their project. So by the time this was all said and done, the road was really closed for 2.5, 3 years, which is a huge inconvenience for the people who lived along that corridor. CEI and Livable Cities did a great job of working with the residents to help get them access to their driveways and backyards when they needed them. And it seemed like the construction team really were on a first-name basis with a lot of the residents who lived along the corridor, which helped to talk through concerns and minimize impacts during construction. And it felt like the residents felt comfortable coming to us and asking questions when they had them. This is one of the videos that a neighbor sent to us, and I mean, you can tell from this video that it's not just inconvenient when there's construction right next to your house, but it's loud, it's irritating, it's dusty, and it shakes your whole house, which is why vibration monitoring was really important for this project, not just for peace of mind for the construction team, but also for the homeowners, to make sure that we were monitoring the situation the whole time. And if they had concerns, we'd say, I know it's scary, but we have been watching this all along. And shout out to U-Wave Monitoring for helping us with this project. Do y'all remember the scene in Jurassic Park with the T-Rex stomping the water glass? This is the Jurassic Park version of that last construction video that we just watched, which I love because it does give the magnitude of the vibrations that the residents were experiencing at time and how important vibration monitoring was for the project. The last thing we wanted to talk about were creative construction techniques. And there were a bunch, but we're going to focus on two out of the interest of time. And both of these were able to save some time off the overall project schedule. First was Jose Pereira was CEI superintendent for the project, and he had this idea to use a reusable concrete check dam for water control. And CEI felt like that saved months off of the project schedule. Basically, it consisted of a concrete check dam, valve, and a long outlet pipe, which allowed CEI to work for 500 linear feet at a time in the dry. And because we had that consistent trapezoidal channel shape, they could chip out that concrete check dam, move it 500 feet upstream, and then again work in another 500 feet in the dry. The second creative item was this barrier clamp that CEI used for setting sandstone boulders at the site. Here is a close-up of the barrier clamp in action. And here's a photo of Todd from Livable Cities working with CEI. He would go out and help set the location and elevation of every boulder in the corridor. So after CEI placed the boulder, if there need to be adjustments, they could lift it up easily, make the adjustments, and put it back. So the clamp really allowed for a lot of agility during the construction process. Which brings us to our final section of the presentation. It seemed like unanimously, the project team members really felt like we were able to construct a project that was a betterment for the community in a multitude of ways, which I hope you can see from this video. Can you please play the video? Oh, mood lighting. Oh, it's going, okay. As Teresa said at the beginning of the presentation, Uvalde Street is really a corridor that was transformed from a concrete drainage channel into a living amenity for the neighborhood. And the living part is more than just the flood channel itself. It includes the residents who can now use the corridor for recreation, to walk and bike and relax. It includes the uplift to the ecology and biology of the corridor for the plants and insects and birds that reside within it. It includes the bike lanes and the improvements to transportation infrastructure that invite people to move more easily through the corridor. And it includes the trail connectivity to the Rocky Mountain Arsenal open space, which allows the community to easily access this great outdoor amenity that is right next door. So the entire corridor went from a concrete, hard, unusable space into a living and thriving and welcoming environment. Or as Laura presented this morning, Uvalde Project is an example of a one space, many systems, lasting benefits. Oh, yeah, okay. And we're going to leave you with this quote. So as Marlon Shoshone said to the Denverite, it feels so good, it looks so much better, and it's nice being able to walk around your neighborhood without going that far and having a pretty view of the little creek that's there. And if that's not some of the best feedback that you can receive for a project, then I don't know what is. Thank you to the whole project team who worked on this project, every single person. The project success is 100% because of all of you. And a quick shout out to CEI for winning a Colorado Contractor Association's Infrastructure Construction Excellence Award for this project in April. They deserved it. Thank you.